these Minnesota Vikings need to invest in a lot of things this offseason and during the draft. So free agency and the draft. Starting off, do whatever it takes to keep Brian Flores in the Vikings building. Do whatever it takes. Give him whatever he wants, because we all know he deserves it. Now, we also need a healthy, stable offensive line. Whether that's in free agency or in the draft or both, get that and do that now. Uh, a fullback would be nice too, believe it or not. Yeah, I know. A fullback doesn't make the most explosive plays, but look, our childhood player, well, my childhood player, not everyone, watched him as young as I did. But CJ Ham, he's retiring. We're going to need a fullback that can make the same blocks that he did. No one can truly replace him, but we need a fullback that can make good blocks for our running backs. Which brings me to the next thing. We also need a running back, like an explosive running back, you know what I'm saying? Like Dalvin Cook, prime Dalvin Cook type of guy, you know what I'm saying? So that would be nice as well. So to help with that, we would need an offensive line that's healthy and a fullback that's healthy. On defense, we'll also need to draft a safety. Now, I don't want another Kyle Hamilton situation. But Harrison Smith, the Hitman, another player that I've watched during my childhood, he's retiring. So, we're going to need a guy that can fill his shoes. No one can truly replace the Hitman, but we can get a guy with similar skill sets, for sure. That would be nice. We also need some defensive interiors, nose tackles, DTs, anyone that can play in the interior and truly stop the run. Jalen Redmond has practically had to do it all on his own. So if we can get another guy, maybe one or two more guys on the interior defensive line, that would be perfect. Corners too. We need young corners for Brian Flores, young DBs for Brian Flores, assuming he stays. By the grace of God, he stays, so that we can use him, or so that he can use them in his scheme. Because, Brian Flores' scheme seems to apply the best to younger guys. And as for the D-line, if you get guys on the interior to lock down the D-line and stop the run, that could also open things up for Dallas Turner, who's becoming a bigger star. Andrew Van Ginkel, who, by the way, we should bring back. And it's overall going to help out this team in incredible ways. Our general manager, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, this is now the time to see whether or not he can truly draft. He hasn't been horrible in free agency, but in drafting, there could be some improvement. So we'll see if there is any improvement at all. If there are any improvements at all. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. We got to invest in a lot of things. And if you truly want to build this team to the best of its ability, we got to go all in. And we need to trust in J.J. McCarthy. Trust that he can sustain the relationship or the connection with the football, throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, sustaining the connection with his coaches and all that. I think, he will eventually slow down a little bit. He'll stop overthinking the game eventually, because, young quarterbacks have a habit of doing that. But, overall, he's a skillful quarterback, a very skillful quarterback. So, essentially, you're building this team around Justin Jefferson and J.J. McCarthy. So build the guys that can build around these two guys and build in the best way that can help them succeed. O-line, and even on the defense too. We need a good defense to have a good offense, and a good offense to help out our defense. Defense helps out offense. Offense helps out defense. It's a back and forth thing. It's how football works. Your offense and defense both contribute to a certain thing, and they help each other out. Even special teams is very important and very significant and very fundamental. So let's establish connections, skill sets, and talent in all three of these parts of football, and we're set. We're set. But Kwesi, you cannot abandon these things again. We cannot abandon the O-line. We cannot abandon the parts that we need. And we also need to make sure that Brian Flores stays a Minnesota Viking. Those are my thoughts.